The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those Knuckleheads of Liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on April 13th, 2022, a few steps ahead of the taxman, and just sort of staggering through this Biden administration. Boy, I tell you, just blunder after blunder. And this one, we're going to focus a little bit on borders and of course, more Biden. But before we get to that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is an unshaven pilot in the state of California. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So, boy, I tell you, having that shaving reference makes me think of disheveled, and that's exactly what our border situation is right now. It's just a mess. And I tell you, well, as bad as things have been on the border, they're about to get worse because apparently this Title 22 decision that's recently come
42.
up. Or 42, excuse me, 42. Yes. And we have an image for that, too. That might help me keep the numbers right. There we go. Biden's Title 42 immigration decision will create a national catastrophe, according to Fox on this one. But essentially, this Title 42 has allowed them to keep people out during the COVID situation, I believe. And now They're about to just open the borders and say, okay, any constraint we've had at all, or restraint, whatever, which they really haven't had that much. I mean, they've been shipping people in despite COVID quite a bit. And now I guess it's just free for all, it sounds like. But that's coming up. And, boy, I tell you, it's like a go signal to the rest of the world, I guess, to come here. And just as a side note on that issue, Governor DeSantis, it looks like, is one of the southern governors who's trying to, I guess, give his state as much relief as possible. And so they're suing the Biden administration over some of this directly sending people to Florida. But anyways, let me get your guys' reactions to this. What do you guys think about this just complete disarray at the borders?
Well, to be honest, and I mean this in all seriousness, I don't know why this is not criminal conduct, okay? It is true that people have come in and have tried to come across that southern border from God knows when, maybe since the founding of the country. But what is happening right now is we have an administration who is actively making policy or removing policy that allows people to come into the country, that is encouraging the criminal conduct of people crossing our border and creating this horrible mess. Now look at this Title 42 business right now. That used to allow, it allowed the border agents to expel people almost immediately to avoid any communicable diseases from entering the United States. But now they're going to even remove that. So there are no constraints about expelling people who are here illegally. Why is this not criminal conduct? Why are we encouraging people to just walk across the border? Government policies actually encouraging criminal conduct. Why is this not impeachable of Joe Biden? The House of Representatives impeached Donald Trump because he supposedly encouraged the people to enter the Capitol, even though Trump said something completely different. But that was their logic. Now we have government policy encouraging people. We used to have the Remain in Mexico policy. Even that they want to remove. Why is this not criminal conduct? Unimpeachable. Why? I don't understand this.
I'll answer that question. Because the Democrats wanted to reduce the motivation to impeach the stupid president because they knew right behind that stupid president would be a psychopathic president to take over. They guaranteed the ticket that way. They got a president that's a moron and a vice president that's a psychopath. So there you go. Who wants, who's number 3? Probably another idiot.
The person after the vice president is Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, so it's scary all around. You got the crypt keeper right behind.
Right.
the two brainless wonders.
So who's motivated to impeach Biden? I mean, maybe they'll think, I don't want to be out of the frying pan and into the fire. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm trying to answer your question I
can see that, Tim. I can see that.
As smart and as silly as I can think at the same time. But just correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is it's the federal government's job to secure the borders around the entire nation. Is this a constitutional job, power of the federal government? Am I correct in that, Leon?
Yes. They have the sole on immigration. They have sole authority. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So in that light, I can see why Florida wants to sue the federal government, because it's not their job to keep people out of their state. Although Arizona is a situation where a sheriff at least stepped in and said, if they're not going to do their job under the Constitution, I'm going to have to do it. And probably other states throughout, that were, not putting up with this nonsense. So I can see why Florida wants to sue the federal government. And good luck to them. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, to sort of dovetail onto what you guys were talking about, as far as who has the authority, this is one of the questions that came up in a press conference with Jen Psaki, as far as, they were essentially saying some of these states are getting frustrated. And so aside from suing, they're also doing things like, and maybe we could bring the image up for this one, but Governor Greg Abbott of Texas is essentially saying, okay, well, if you guys are essentially going to be allowing for this huge influx into my state and other states here, then, because you're telling us this is all such positive, well, how about we share some of that utopia with you guys by just busing them straight to DC?
Yeah.
And so, that question came up in the press conference, and Jen Psaki was saying, well, he has no authority to be able to put these people on buses. And since that point, I guess they had to soften the stance that it'll be a voluntary, step, that if these migrants want to get on the buses, then I guess they can ship them there. But the point is, it's like they're not doing their job. There's literally laws that say there's certain constraints about coming over the border, and certainly as libertarians we can argue about the efficacy and maybe what situations we should have for more open borders potentially, but the issue is here we clearly have laws, they're not being enforced. And so if you try to do something to stem that, then suddenly the federal government is going to crack down on it seems like the law-abiding people, right? Not the people who are breaking the law, but the law-abiding people. So it's just kind of crazy. And of course, that's also, takes it back a little bit to this issue with in Florida. It's not just that people are coming across the border. It's literally that the Biden administration is shipping people to certain places. So they may be shipping people in the middle of the night into Florida and essentially just dropping all these migrants there on that state. So this is, kind of, sort of like the federal government can do it, but the states can't do it. It's anyways, throw it back to you guys.
But this gets back to the point of active encouragement. They are actively encouraging this. Not only they're actively encouraging people to cross the border, they are also giving illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, aid and comfort in their law breaking. They're shipping people all over the place in the dark of the night. New York, Florida, all over the place. They're shipping these people. And why, I still go back to my original question, why is this not criminal conduct? You're encouraging law-breaking people who are already breaking the law, to continue to break the law, and you are helping them, you're assisting them, you're giving them aid and comfort, and nobody is doing anything about it, but making it easier for people to cross our borders. Why is this not illegal conduct? I don't know, and I don't understand.
Well,
apparently, what's good for the goose is not so good for the gander, and the federal government's not going to have any of that. Send them our way. You know, not in my backyard. NIMBY, not in my NIMBY, not in my backyard. You're not going to send any of them dirty, nasty old illegal aliens coming in here. Those immigrants, we don't want them here. We're going to put them in Florida. Now that's a good place. We'll punish you guys, Mr. DeSantis, and your you can't say gay stuff. We'll teach you for telling everybody they can't say gay. We'll give you a lesson or two, because we are the federal government and we get to, coerce at will.
Yeah.
No,
Constitution be damned.
Yeah. No, it is true. It is true. The federal government has sole authority over immigration. Okay, that is people actually entering the country, but they don't have the sole authority in terms of where they ship the people after they cross the border illegally. They don't have that.
Yeah,
I don't know how this is going to all play out.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is really kind of crazy, sick stuff that's going on here. Seriously.
Well, one of the crazy things I thought too is you go back to Obama and Trump when they were president, and Obama actually used executive orders to allow for, in some cases, for more migrants to come in. I mean, he also actually had a large amount of people held in private facilities as well. So, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that about Obama as well, that he was essentially holding a lot of illegal immigrants in cages, essentially, that the Trump administration eventually used too. But it's funny because Obama was essentially using an executive order, I believe, to allow for the Dreamers, I believe, to have extra access. And
it's none of DACA. It was a DACA. Okay. DACA, yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the crazy thing was Trump came in and tried to reverse that with an executive order, and then they told him he couldn't do it because he had to go through a review process that Obama didn't do for his executive order, apparently. So it's just kind of crazy, but I guess it's all about the politics of who you are in there. But let me shift gears a little bit and take us to Ukraine, another place where there's, I guess, a border dispute, but something we kind of want to talk about for a while on the show, and we just haven't gotten to it, is the issue. This is sort of our Libertarian Corner issue today, but when you are a country at war, at what point should the government ever be responsible for potentially censoring news, even if it's in the name of removing so-called propaganda? And what we saw in this case is apparently, this is a story from a while back from Reuters, but Britain, they actually put a ban on Russia TV, and then of course that had a possibility of retaliation occurring in Russia too on the BBC. But we saw similar things happening in Canada, where they were also banning some of the RT stuff, and I don't believe the US ever banned the RT Russia Today, is I guess what it's called.
They did not. They did
not. But from a libertarian perspective, I mean, isn't it up to the people to be smart enough to figure this stuff out for themselves? Because the point is, if you shut off communication from the other side, then is there really a chance to ever come to common understandings or common perspectives? Anyways, I'll throw that out to you guys. What do you guys think about this whole bit? And by the way, there's been some recent stuff too about apparently the United States also pushing some propaganda at the beginning of this war too, to kind of balance the scales against Russia a little bit on this too. So anyways, what do you guys think about that?
Okay, well, I see Leon hesitate to give me the go ahead, so I'm going to go ahead. I think this speaks to the dumbing down of the educational system in the United States, and probably Britain too, to get citizens that think that during time of war, the governments are going to give them accurate information. Everybody lies, and everybody should be lying. The government should be giving false information, and the false information should appear to be legit and official, and the media outlets should run with it and get it out there so that everybody thinks that the government's going to do this instead, they're going to do that. And that's just Art of War 1A. That's all that is. Art of War 1A. And everybody that had, a decent education will realize that everything you get from your government, from their government, from everybody's government's gonna be, you better take it with a grain of salt, because it's likely to be erroneous on purpose. And so to stop everybody, you can do it if you want, I guess. You're going to ban the other guys disinformation, and just so that you can get yours out there. Well, maybe that's a good idea too. I don't know, but it kind of doesn't necessarily help maybe what you want. Sometimes you want to have their disinformation out there too. I mean, it depends on your goal, but it's warfare. I worry more about the disinformation that's sent out not during times of war. That's the part I get kind of up my panties in a bunch about. It's not the stuff during warfare, because during warfare, gloves come off, and anything you get from the government's probably going to be something they want you to think, but it's not what's going to happen. Leon, what do you think?
Well, I am very leery of censorship of any kind, but the question before us is any form of censorship appropriate during times of war? And I would say no to that. I would tend to say no to that for the following reason: is that government, once given powers, they try not to give it back. Look at what happened during the COVID. They seized this bunch of power from us. They took away our liberties, and now we're trying to get it back. And even that is problematic in getting it back from them, from which was our own liberties they took away, and we can't even get that back fully. So I would say no. Government should not be allowed to censor almost on. I can't think of any good condition under which government should be allowed to censor. There's one answer, and one answer to this information. It is good information. The answer to suppressed speech is more speech. You could only sanitize bad information or disinformation with good information, not government censorship. So I would say no. Even in times of war, I would say no.
Okay, let me clarify. I think what I was saying, based on what Leon just said, which I totally agree with. So what I'm the example is going to be here. So the English government, England, bans the RT in England. So then so now Russia doesn't get to broadcast in England. Okay, then Russia retaliates and bans the BBC. So now England has lost the ability to propagandize to the Russian people with their propaganda. And Russia's also lost the opportunity to propagandize to the British people with their propaganda. So I guess I'm cynical as can be. I'm a super cynic, because I am assuming that both governments are going to be full of BS, Bravo, Sierra, and that but the opportunity is gone or limited when they start censoring each other. So in that sense, I'm agreeing with Leon. At the same time, I'm agreeing with the long dead son Tzu and his art of war tactics.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, you know, it is something I think as just a citizen. I mean, I think we ought to be appalled when our government is literally at least trying to propagandize us. And I almost feel like maybe we should be appalled too if they're trying to propagandize people in other places in the world too. You know, I mean, I would hope that we're acting in a virtuous way in this country and not in an unvirtuous way where we have to lie to people about what we're doing, you know, to get them to come along with us, right? I mean, I don't feel like our government should have to trick people in other parts of the world to agreeing with them. I would hope that our case for what we're doing is virtuous enough that the truth can do it, right? So,
Boy, you are not cynic enough there, Jason. I don't know. I think it might be a little naive to think that. I, on the other hand, would be appalled if the government actually told us the truth. That would appall me. I mean, I don't know, not in a bad way. It surprised me. It would shock me.
Then you should love the people we have in there now.
I love them. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. It's not whether I love them or hate them. Although actually I do hate them, but it is that you know, what do I expect from them? So it's safe to say that when it comes to the government, I expect the least from them, which is why the founders put shackles on them, or tried to, with the Constitution. It's obviously been an abject failure, unfortunately, but at least they tried, and at least there's some little shreds of it here or there, you know, maybe a thread, maybe a dental floss instead of a chain that holds the arm or the leg of government pinned down to something or other thing. But it's all gone crazy, unfortunately.
You know, but Jason, to your point, though, the only way we could get propaganda coming from the government is one of two ways. Either the government is directly funding institutes of information like NPR, which we should not be funding, or we have a complete breakdown of journalistic standards, which we have right now. So those are the only ways that that the government can really propaganda us, disseminate propaganda to us or to foreign countries. So the whole point is to make sure two things. Number one, we don't have a breakdown of journalistic standards, and number two, we got to stop funding media outlets like NPR, and that's the only way. If those two things stay as they should, then we won't have to worry about the propaganda.
Well, quite
frankly, I'm reminded of D-Day. June 6, 1944, when the Germans didn't know where we were going to land. They knew we were coming. They knew there was buildup of troops and munitions and tanks and jeeps and stuff. And they didn't know where, though. So there was a lot of feigning by the federal government as to where, a lot of fake stuff. Okay, to allow the Germans, including communications that were secretized. What's the word? Help me out, Leon or Jason. Encoded covert transmissions, secretized, encrypted transmissions to let them think that we were going to be here. Instead, we were going to be there. Okay, and so if you were a journalist going, "Oh wow, no, I don't think they're going to go there. I think they're going to go on the beaches of Normandy, France." And that's I'm going to write that in my thing. And hey, Germans, this is why I think it's because of A, B, C, D, and E. And you see what I'm saying? It's like sometimes in times of war, you not only do you not expect to get correct information, you don't want to get correct information. You want the enemy to get the incorrect information that you got.
Yeah, but that brings up a little bit of a distinction here. And are we talking about like an actual strategic battle plan. In which case, like if Geraldo Rivera is embedded with your military, and he's scratching out the map on the sand.
Yes.
Exactly. You want to make sure you're feeding him bad information. But I mean, that's about the specifics of the attack. What these people are doing is they're literally blocking information about just what's happening. I mean, literally, if there's atrocities occurring
after it's happened.
But potentially after it's happened, or maybe reasons about why you're going in too, and stuff like that. I mean, if you're blocking them off, you can't even hear somebody say, "Hey, look, they did this to us. This is why we're doing it to you," right? Or something else like that, right? Yeah. So you can't even hear the reasoned argument.
Good point.
So
I think good point.
But
if it's after the fact stuff, if it's we invaded them yesterday, June 6th, today June 7th, and we hit them at the beaches in Normandy, France. That's off the table. That's off the table. It's past. It's history. It's done. At that time, it's in the history books. Done deal. Yeah. In other words, I don't want any nonsense about that.
Yeah. But that raises the issue though. Would we still support the freedom of speech if it's an actual battle plan that is being disseminated? Right? And I think
a plan of the future.
Yeah.
A plan for the future. Yeah. I would personally not support that. Only because, if I'm rooting for my government, I guess if I want my government to fail, they fail enough as it is. Okay, they're 30 trillion in debt. That's failure to me. Yeah. Do I want them to fail? No, I do not want them to be in $30 trillion in debt, and nor do I want the Germans to mass total defenses at Normandy on June 6, 1944. None of those things. I do not want those things.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense if you're talking about something that is a very specific war and very specific time frame of battle. But one of the things we have to be careful about is some of these things are perpetual war, right? We're being told, that we're maybe under constant threat. And if that's the case, then at some point, you got to say, well, this is crazy. I mean, we've essentially been in a war against COVID for quite a while, and they're trying to shut us down.
There's a war on terror. There's a war on terror that is supposed to be still ongoing. So
I don't know. I mean, in some of these things, I definitely think you're right along, Tim, if it's a specific thing. But man, you get to a point where if they try and spread this stuff out too long, then it can get kind of messy.
I mean, I'm the first one to be against all this nonsense of this, perpetual warfare that's been going on. But that's past history. I'm not talking about. I'm saying change the policy for the future, but it's based on the complete failure of it in the past. Ditto war on drugs. Ditto gun control.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to. We're going a little over time, but that's okay. This is not our televised show, so we'll jump to our Knucklehead Noise Patrol now. And so that one, who do we have? Of course, but Biden, probably our most frequent knucklehead. That's what he has to say. It'll be sad too, because if they decide he's just completely bonkers and remove him, we'll have to find material from somebody else.
Somebody else, yeah.
He's just a constant source, but oh my gosh, he was at let me get an image up for this. So he was speaking at a ceremony, essentially celebrating the appointment of Ketanji Brown as the new Supreme Court justice. And while he was there near the end of the press conference, he started to ramble, and Joe Biden often does. He says, America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. And then he said, excuse me, I was in the foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping, traveling with him. That's when I traveled 17,000 miles when I was vice president. I don't know that for a fact. Somehow that was a description of America in one word.
In one word. Yeah, let's get it right. When history is written, you would say a lot of things about Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump have said some very idiotic things, but never this incoherent. But when history is written, I think somebody is going to try to answer the question, How did this half-senile man sit in his basement in Delaware and still beat a sitting president? I mean, this has to be some major feat that was accomplished. How? This man is so incoherent, senile, and totally at a loss, but yet he won the presidency against a sitting president. This is unbelievable to me.
Well, I'm starting to feel like a bully because I'm beating up on this poor guy, and Leon's correct about everything he's saying, but at this point, I'm starting to think. I mean, this guy is so easy to beat up on, and I'm thinking I'm like the school bully, the big kid that had hormones kick in sooner than everybody else, and I'm beating up on the scrawniest kid on the playground, and it's no fun anymore. The sport's gone out of it.
Well, Tim, I would agree with you if he wasn't sitting here essentially shoving his garbage down everybody's throat. I mean, this is a guy who's literally forcing people into their homes. He's shutting down speech where he can. He's just constantly stepping on people's rights. So I would agree with you if he was just sitting there having a cup of coffee, minding his own business. I would completely agree with you.
I'm not gonna. That doesn't mean I'm gonna stop bullying him. I mean, just talking about bullying him was bullying him. I mean, the description of the scrawniest kid on the school grounds is bullying him. So there you go. I ain't done yet.
As long as he's president, we cannot be done. Seriously, we can't be done.
Seriously. Well, we can be done with the show, right, Jason?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he gives us new material all the time, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time to get to all of it today. So that's the end of our show today. But thanks so much for joining us. And until then, till the next time, stay free.
Yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.